Hello, I'm Mike Chrisley. I'm the Executive Director of Ruritan National, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about finances for district officers. And in particular, I'd like to talk to you about accounts receivable for Ruritan clubs. Accounts receivable is a part of our dues collection process. Ruritan is a dues-driven organization, and when I say that, what I mean is that most of the money that we receive in terms of operations is from member dues. We do have some sources of non-dues revenue, but by and large, operations are funded at Ruritan National by member dues, and that includes things like services from your directors and officers as they travel to districts. It includes all of the services that come out of the Ruritan National home office. And finally, it provides the basis for your district dues rebates. Dues rebates are calculated on the amount of dues that are paid from all the clubs in your district in a given quarter. And just as an example, if your district were to happen to collect and send to Ruritan $10,000 in dues, Ruritan would rebate 10% of that to the district, or $1,000. Accounts receivable are simply amounts of dues that have been billed to clubs but have not yet been collected. And they're important for a number of reasons. One of those reasons we discussed in the previous slide, in that they make up the basis for your dues rebate coming back to the district. One of the other problems that could occur as a result of non-payment of dues is that there could be cash flow problems at Ruritan National. And finally, and probably the most important thing that we need to talk about, is that financial obligations not being met might mean that the club has financial difficulties. Could be that the club is struggling and needs your attention. So it's another tool to identify or flag a club that might be having trouble that needs your attention. Now you can help with this just by following up with the clubs in your district and making sure that they're paying their dues in a timely fashion. Again, you want to make sure that the club is not in financial dire straits. And if they are having financial difficulties, you want to work with that club to make sure that they become financially solvent and that they're able to pay their debts in time. One of the most important functions that you have as a district officer is to make sure that the clubs in your district are healthy and viable and that they're able to serve the community. And having an unpaid financial obligations puts stress on a club that could impact their service to the local community. Over the last year or so, we've been able to build some new tools into the member management system that allows not only us but you to take a look at the outstanding balances of clubs in your district. The good thing about this is that it's in the member management system, and you should already be familiar with that. As a district officer, you'll log into the member management system and you should see your landing page. I'm going to go ahead and log into my district, the New River District's landing page, and just let you take a look at that. Now, this is the New River District's landing page. When you log in as a district officer, what you'll see is your own district's landing page. And if you look at the right-hand side of the page, you'll see some statistical information and some activity with regard to members. On the left-hand side of the page, you see financial information. This is the screen that you would log into anytime you log in as a district officer. This is the page that you'll land on. What I want to focus on is up at the top of the page. Up at the top of the page, you'll see some icons, beginning with the Ruritan National logo, and then just over beside that, you have the home button, beside that, the member button, beside that, the graphs button, and finally, the reports. And what I want to focus on today is the reports button. And if you go up to the top of the page to all of those icons, and you were to click on the reports button, you would see the next page. This page is a list of all the reports that are available to your district. And the first 8 or 10 that you see listed on the top are membership statistics for a given period of time. Each of those are a different period, so you could click on those and see statistical information with regard to your district at any given time. But what I want to focus on are the 3 items at the bottom of the page, and specifically I want to focus on the outstanding balance by club area at the bottom. That is the 3rd item up from the bottom of the page. And so outstanding club balance by club, if you click on that, the next page you should see would look like this. The page that you're looking at now shows a listing of all the clubs in the New River District that have an outstanding balance due to Ruritan National. 2 areas that I want you to pay attention to. One is the blue highlighted section that shows the club name, and the other is the View Last Invoice column that's also highlighted in blue. If you go into any of those View Last Invoice areas, what you'll see is the last invoice that was issued to the Ruritan Club that you're looking at. But what I want to focus on is the club names. If you click on any one of those club names, you would go to the landing page for that club. Now, the final thing I would mention to you is that the dark blue highlighted area down at the bottom right-hand corner of the page will show you the entire amount of dues receivable from your district at that given time. So for example, in New River District, at the time this screen was viewed, you had an outstanding balance of $4,798.30. So to take you to the next screen, I'm going to go up and click on the Ruritan Road Ruritan Club LLC, because that happens to be my club, and show you what you'll see next. This is the landing page for the Ruritan Road Ruritan Club, and it has a lot of information about the club on it. But the part I want to focus on is the part that is right in the center of the screen. If you look at the club officers, just below the club officers, you've got View Invoices, Club Roster, etc. The View Invoices button is highlighted in green. And if you click on the View Invoices button, it will take you to this screen. This is simply a listing of all the invoices that have been issued to the Ruritan Road Ruritan Club since we started the system. If you look at the very top line, you'll see 2020-05-12, and that is the May 12th, 2020 invoice for the Ruritan Road Ruritan Club. Now you can click on any of these invoices and view the invoice for any of those periods that are listed. But just for simplicity, we're going to click on the most recent invoice, which is the May 12th, 2020 invoice. And when you click on that top line, here's what you'll see. The page that you're looking at now is the most current invoice for the Ruritan Road Ruritan Club, and that's dated May 12th, 2020. If you look over on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see some statistical information about the club. But if you look at the left-hand side, you'll see the financial data. The first dark blue line says members and charges. And if you look under that, you'll see the types of members that are included in the Ruritan Road Ruritan Club and the charge for each of those members. Down at the bottom, you have total member charges of $384.50. Just under that, under the blue totals line, you have the current charges. And so what that shows about Ruritan Road Ruritan Club is that they have an outstanding balance, but it is for the current charges in the current quarter. If there was a previous balance that would have come forward from one of the other invoices that you saw on the previous page, that balance would be just under the current charges line. And in terms of payments, if the Ruritan Road Club had paid on this particular invoice, the payment would show up in the line labeled payments. And if the club paid the entire amount of dues that they owed, then what you'd see is a zero balance in the current due line. Right now they owe the full amount, and so the amount in the current due line is $384.50. Now, the screen that you're looking at now is not a screen that you'll be able to see if you look at your own district reporting. But this is a screen that we use at National that actually sums up all of the accounts receivable from clubs in every district. So as an example, if you look down to line number 34, New River, you'll see that the same amount is there that was in the total balance of all clubs in New River District, or $4,798.30. And if you looked at any of those districts in a vacuum, if you looked at them by themselves, the amount of money that they have outstanding would not seem like an enormous amount of money. But when you sum all those up and you get down to the bottom line, the very bottom left-hand corner of this page shows the total accounts receivable for all Ruritan clubs in all districts. And as you can see from this page, the total amount there is $172,387. And that amount of money is substantial in regard to our budget. This report was run, or was viewed, in the middle of May. Probably a more viable report to view would be a report that shows you the end of a particular quarter. And as an example, I'll look at the end of the first quarter of a calendar year. So the first month of the quarter is January, February is the second, and finally March would be the last month of the quarter that you were looking at. In March, you would expect to have collected almost all of your January dues. And what we've seen in the past, looking at the last month of a quarter, is that typically we'll have $50,000 or $60,000 in accounts receivable that are still not collected in the last month of the quarter. If you understand that Ruritan National receives its money on a quarterly basis, and that the vast majority of that money comes in during the first 2 months of the quarter, then in the first 2 months of the quarter, cash flow is not an issue. But if you get to the third month of the quarter and you still have a relatively large accounts receivable balance, then that can cause cash flow issues. Our cash flow, or our accounts receivable, in the last month of the quarter has averaged anywhere from $50,000 or $60,000 up to in excess of $100,000. So if we're paying bills, you're paying staff salaries, you're paying liability insurance premiums, you're producing a magazine, or at the end of the quarter you're producing club kit materials that need to be mailed out, and you get some relatively large bills, then an accounts receivable balance of $60,000 to $100,000 can really cause a tightening of cash with regard to what we're able to pay at Ruritan National. It also would impact the ability to pay directors that would be traveling to your districts, or any number of other things that we have to pay as a national organization. Just to give you some final thoughts, you can go back through this PowerPoint presentation and look at those slides again if you're having trouble navigating to the accounts receivable piece of the MMS. But also, feel free at any time to call us. You can call the landline number. I think my cell phone is published. You're welcome to call me. During the last couple of months, our staff has been working at home, but we are answering our phones. We're checking our voicemails and our emails. So if you want to call us up and talk to us about how you can view these pages in MMS, we'd be glad to walk you through the process. We appreciate you. We appreciate the fact that you're helping us with collecting outstanding dues. We appreciate the fact that you understand that if a club is having financial difficulties, they could very well be having difficulties in other areas. But we also want you to know that we appreciate you for what you do in communities. One of the things that we're always humbled by the fact that when we produce a magazine, for example, we see all the activities and the things that clubs are doing in local communities, and it's just outstanding. So we appreciate you, we appreciate what you do, and we appreciate your help in helping us to collect outstanding dues from clubs. Thank you.